Wonderful good morning, friends, and welcome to the Spiritual Side of Virginia. We're going to start today by reading a message from the book Our Daily Bread, psychographed by Chico Xavier, by the Spiritual Manual. Message number 88, Discipline. If you are enduring discipline, God is treating you as his children. For what child is not disciplined by his father? Quote, chapter 12, verse 7. Blessed is the spirit who understands the Lord's discipline and accept it without resistance. However, few individuals manage to understand and bear discipline. At times, a generous reprimand from the Most High, the symbol of unbridled love, reaches the human arena as a sacred and silent warning. Nevertheless, on most occasions, the incarnate mind deflects the salvific prod, immerses itself in the night of rebelliousness, disregard valuable possibilities, and label as an unbearable misfortune the renewing influence meant to brighten the sad, dark road. When confronted with this regenerative phenomenon, many people opt for a spectacular escape from the difficult situation and defenselessly give in to a slow suicide, abandoning themselves to complete indifference toward their destiny. Those who proceed in such a way cannot be treated as children, since they have isolated themselves and have turned away from the divine providence by erecting dense walls of darkness between their own heart and the Father's blessings. Those who understand the discipline of the All-Merciful readjust themselves in a way, in a new and promising circle of life. Once the inner storm is overcome, they reevaluate opportunities for learning, serving, and constructing, and based on the bitter experiences of yesterday, they apply the benefits of the higher life with an eye on tomorrow. Do not forget that evil cannot correct anyone. When the Lord's discipline reaches you on your path, accept it humbly and know that it is a true message from heaven.
Thank you, Felipe. Thank you. Right, friends. So we're going to say our prayer. It's a moment for us to feel our connection with God. It's an exercise of collective, this togetherness, right? Yeah. No, let us feel the grace of God. You, dear Lord, you are so good to us, so generous, so abundant in your love. You embrace us with your loving care. And often we take you for granted. We think our lives are all about what we want to do. And we forget that you created us for purposes that are known to you and to be discovered by us. May we grow in our spiritual intelligence and march more consciously towards the fulfillment of your will, which is always great. Feeling your presence, your kindness, your healing grace, we ask for your permission to begin our services in two realms, trusting that everyone who is here present incarnates, discarnates. Those who are connected to us, those who have their name in the book of prayer, may they all receive the help that they need. In deep gratitude, we ask you to bless especially our speaker, our dear Mac Mello, who kindly comes to speak about your kindness, our kindness. Thank you, Lord, and so be it. Okay. Okay, before everybody goes, you know, yesterday we had a wonderful opportunity. We had a deep cleaning of the center, power washing the chairs, so we have like a brand new center.
A long time,
Yes,
that's for sure.
yes, it was great, right? And now we have.
Yeah, and it was not pretty. It was very not pretty
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But you know, want to remind you that when you come, you can bring your bottled water. Now we have one more table underneath to all the water bottles in the world. So the good spirits can, as we say there, physically it's only spring water, but spiritually it has been saturated with loving energies from the spirits. And you take it home and drink it throughout the week. Today, before everybody goes, we want people to say hi to a wonderful friend of ours, Mac Mello. He's here. You guys want to say hi? Say hi.
Hello, everyone.
A little more this way. Say hi.
Oh,
Yay. So it's good that, okay. Okay, so I'll keep it this way. Yay, they're excited. All right. So before you go inside to your room to do your special activity today, Mac Mello is a friend. He's in Massachusetts. There is a spiritist center there where he, his wife, and friends have been, and his brother, they have been leading the spiritist in their city, the spiritist cause. And Mac Mello has been a wonderful partner in Spiritism, also in the English language, helping at Kardec Radio in so many ways over the years, giving talks. He is the son, for those who come from Brazil, the famous writer about passes, Jacob Mello, is his father. So, yeah, so his father, the father and the son. And the Holy Spirit. Right? It's holy anyhow. So his father is an expert in the science of giving passes, the laying on of hands. He taught us many, more than 20 years ago in Baltimore when he came to visit us. And now we just pass along what he taught us. And Mac has a wonderful heart. He's going to talk about kindness because it's in the gospel according to Spiritism. And he has a lot to share. He is an engineer by profession and his background. And he has a lot to share in so many ends. But I think the topic he is asked to share with us today is so vital for a better society. We need to ask ourselves today, children and adults, how kind have we been? How kind? Have we been kind to the people in our home? Have we been kind to the people at work, in the streets when we're driving, when we go to grocery shopping? How kind have we been? Can we go higher? And what if we don't? So important. It's about the love. I won't say more because Mac Mello has a lot to share with us, right, Mac?
I hope so. If you're kind enough with me.
I know. And you want to share any slides, Mac?
Yeah, I prepared one. I mean, it's just words, basically,
It's
but
okay.
yeah.
So I'll do the following. If you want me to share here, I'll put it up for you. And I would say our educators can go inside with the kids because we have a special activity, right?
Right.
Yeah, let me just upload it to
Sure.
there.
And for the parents who want to go inside to the other room with the little kids to watch from inside, they can, okay? So let's do this just to, so Matt can see some of us. Okay.
Did something show up there for you or no?
Not yet.
Not sure how
No.
this works. Oh, it's uploading
I
now.
mean, if you click present, did you click present and share screen?
Yeah, it's saying that's processing here. So
Okay, so it's coming. Okay, it
is
shows.
can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, it's broken there, but well, I hope that you're having a wonderful morning, and can I already start? I think you disappeared from me, so I can't hear any, you. But
Yes, you can start, Mac.
oh, okay,
Thank you.
all right. So, good morning, everyone. I hope that everybody is having a great morning there. I hope that the sound is okay. I'm here at my own mess, my house, my basement, where I keep the books and all my personal mess. And it was very kind of Vanessa to remind me of this uh, talk that was coming up. We had scheduled this since last year before Christmas time, I guess. It's been like such a long time, but it was in my calendar, so it was okay. Um, it's been a not so great summer so far, but lots of rain. But I guess nature needs more rain, so it's always welcome for us. So Vanessa asked us to talk a little bit about kindness, and and she started by saying some things there about kindness. That when we think about kindness, that's basically and when I say we, I'm talking about myself. When I think about kindness, I I think about what we do on our day to day, on our interactions with people. Um, but also, I I remember growing up, and I apologize um, if I dwell too long on the silence. But I'm going to talk a little bit about silence today as well. When I was young, and it's been a while ago, you see by my complexion, right? By the gray, or by the by the winters in my beard and in my hair. Um, I remember reading a message from Andre Lewis, and I'm not sure exactly where this message is, but it's probably like in Christian Agenda, or maybe what's the other name? Spiritist culture. I can't remember the name right now, but a message where he says one sentence, and I apologize again if I'm remembering incorrectly, and if Vanessa knows, please let me know. Where he says that we should not hit the doors too hard, or close the doors with harshness. And he's in the message. He's referring to physical doors. He's actually referring to the doors that we close when we enter a room, or when we are leaving a house or when we're crossing through a door. And naturally, he's talking about when we are, angered, when we are frustrated, we sometimes tend to take revenge on what's in front of us. I know that anger is part of who we are still. We get angry with stuff, which is, I wouldn't say natural, but in our stage, in our evolutionary stage, it's still part of what we are, of how we are. And as being spiritists and being Christians, moreover, or being spirits who are in evolution and not here, it doesn't matter what religion we come from, we tend to realize with experience, with time, that some actions that we take on our day to day basis are reflection of what we were or who we are building ourselves to be. And the more we grow and the more we tend to stop in silence, or the more we tend to stop in meditating, in watching over, watching the things over, watching the world around us, we tend to see that all changes come slowly, right? And we build these changes over time. We are building who we will be in the future, and that's how it is. Therefore, when we are angered by something, by someone, by an action that comes from the exterior, we are responding to that action. We are responding to that uh, happening, to what's going on outside, with who we are still at that specific moment. However, when we get to a certain point and we apparently while I digress here, please bear with me, because sometimes when we are talking about certain topics, there's so much coming to our minds at the same time that sometimes it might even look like um, I'm going outside of the scope. But if you allow me, just come let's come together in this train of thought here. Things are when we are progressing, when we are working on ourselves, we tend to think that, or I tend to think that, if we allow ourselves to have a little bit more time to take a deep breath, to take the world as it is and look at things as they are, we will notice that nature takes its time to accomplish things. So we don't need to rush in at this very moment, at this um, precise instant, to solve all the problems that we have inside, because it doesn't work that way, right? Vanessa said, that I'm an engineer by trade. It took me how many years to be an engineer, right? Or to become an engineer and currently be an engineer. And to all of you, the same thing. How many years it took for you to become experts in whatever industry you work on. So it takes a lot of time. So if we were more angry when we were younger, if I don't start to make that feeling subside little by little, what I'm doing is I'm allowing it to, I don't say necessarily to grow, but to stay the same. So I have to actively do something to reduce that anger, if that's what we're talking about. But that works for anything in our lives, right? If I want to learn a new language, if I want to plant a rose, if I want to become something different in a certain way, we have to work little by little, right? When I saw Vanessa, as soon as she showed up here on my screen, and I saw, later on, I saw Carlos at the very end, like almost hiding at the end of the screen. And I saw the kids, right? And time flies, she says, and time flies, right? I saw the girls like very, very tiny, just like my two girls. They were very tiny, and now they're so we all know this, right? So I'm not telling anything new to anyone. However, if we are not, and then I'm going to bring this the word now, if I'm not kind, if I don't introduce kindness even to the way I look at the world, I can be harsh to the world and say, why don't you do it quicker? But I have to learn, and I had to learn, and I'm still learning to be kind to whatever it is that happens outside to me, because that's the problem. I think that in the gospel according to Spiritism, in the message that's called, and I apologize because although I speak, English, and I'm here speaking English, but I grew up listening to the gospel according to Spiritism in Portuguese. So all the words and a lot of stuff still comes to me in Portuguese. So I'm going to get it here to so that I don't mess up the word. So it's called, in one of the translations, chapter 9, item number 6, it's called affability and mildness in the translation that I have here in my computer. So if we don't learn how to be affable and how to be mild to the world, I'm going to be angry at the world at all times, because the world doesn't do what I want to do the way I want to do. The world does what the world does. And once again, and I'm going to be apologizing probably a lot of times, I'm talking stuff here, I'm talking about things here that I'm pretty sure that everyone in this room and outside of this room already knows. But despite knowing that, we forget it sometimes. And we don't, we expect things to happen. And when things don't happen the way we expect, we get angered, and then poor door that has to receive my punches or my harshness through the door. So that's why this message that that I remember from reading when I was very young, it comes to my mind, and I try not to give back, to take revenge on something that I have and that serves its purpose, and then I go and crush it, and then I go, why? Because my anger is so big that I can't learn, and I didn't learn yet to control it and to let it go in a different way. And there are physical ways to do it. Some people say if you are angry and if you're like in the state of anxiety, sometimes it's the body doing something to you, and we have to understand this, that some things come from who we are as spirits and from behaviors from the past and so on, but some things our bodies do to us, right? So there, it's an interaction between mind and matter, right? It's an interaction. It's not only one affecting the other. Is one affects this as well affects this other one. If it were not like that, psychotropics wouldn't work, right? If we wouldn't take drugs and it affects my mind, right? So it affects our minds. So some of these opioids, for example, right? You can get addicted to it, and is a physical addiction, but it affects our minds. And the other way around too. If I come with a defect, with a spiritual problem, it will affect our bodies. And when we reincarnate, we will get some of these problems because of the way my mind worked before. Not always only that. Of course, there's once again, the physical impositions of DNA, for example, right? We can, I remember in Brazil, and probably here in some degrees as well. There was this big town in Brazil, close to São Paulo, was called Cubatão, and it was one of the one a town full of industries, and a lot of those chimneys were like leaving stuff outside on the atmosphere. And that town, a lot of people were a lot of mothers and a lot of families have had kids with physical defects, and many of them, or mostly all of them, were because of these pollutants in the air that the mothers breathed, and a lot of stuff too. There's that also that movie, I think Erin Brockovich, where she fights against companies that were polluting the rivers or the ground around where she lived, and she had to fight so that they would take responsibility of affecting the families. So when we are talking about this interaction between mind and matter, right, we have to realize that these two things combine together. It's not always only spiritual, but it's also not always only material. It's actually the combination of both. So if I'm angered, it can have certain causes, some physical causes, right? But also it comes from who we are as spirits. So if I want to remove the spiritual part of it, I have to work on it. I have to physically work on it. And then sometimes, it is by thinking differently. It is by reading stuff that teach us something different. It is by uh, and then if it's physically, it is by going to the gym, it is by running, it is by doing exercises, so that we can let the hormones, the physical part of it, out of our bodies. So we have to understand that this is an interaction, that we have to do both sides of the world, of the work, right? It's not only one side of the work, it's both. So once again, going back to the door, if I hit the door, if I close the door too strongly, like too harshly, it what has the door to do with my anger, right? So I'm not being kind, and see how deep that goes. I'm not being kind to the door. So to me, that was I would say a revelation, right? Because when I can be gentle and kind to a door, and think about being kind to a door, I can start to understand that I have to be kind. If I have to be kind to something that will not feel pain, that it's a dead thing, it's just matter, I will have to learn to be kind to plants. I'll have to learn to be kind to animals. I'll have to learn to be kind to anything in the world. And now, of course, to people. That brings me to what Vanessa said in the beginning. How kind are we being to people? How kind are we being to stuff that people do that affects me? Why do these things affect me? And I have to realize that everything that the world that happens around me, of course, affects me. But how do I allow those things to affect me? That's the most important question. Because I'm pretty sure that everything that happens around me affects me, right? I don't even know sometimes. But for example, just give a um, something that you probably also know, and hopefully everybody knows this. If you sleep in a room where the light comes in very early in the morning, you will wake up earlier than you probably want to wake up. So one thing, that if you cannot close the windows and have a dark room for you to sleep a little bit more, put something over your eyes, because less light will come through our eyes, through our lids, and then we will be able to sleep a little bit more. So everything around us affects us. Everything. But once again, we already know this. But what are we doing with those things that happen? It's my responsibility. It's my responsibility. So I found this message from Emmanuel. It's a very brief message. Then I said in the beginning, right, that I apologize for maybe sometimes being in silence because of this message. Um, I'm not that I'm going to be silent because of the message. It's just that sometimes the thoughts, take a little longer to to be generated, and then sometimes a few moments of silence show up in my speeches. As I was listening to an old program of Kardec Radio, where Francisca, a friend of ours, and me, we were talking about Jesus in the home, the book Jesus in the Home, which is all there in Kardec Radio for everybody to listen to. And I was listening to me talk and said, I love listening to Francisca, but when I was me, I said, oh my God. So hopefully I'm not, sending you guys away. No, hopefully, it's different for you. But what I found interesting is that when Francisca edited what I was saying, because I take long to say things, because I put spaces in between words when I'm talking, like the silence now, for example, she cuts those silences. And then my speech is like nonstop. And I said, is that me talking? And then it took me a few minutes to realize how silence plays its part in what I am saying, in what people are saying. Silence are pauses, are necessary pauses for us to understand what comes next, to prepare for what comes next, and to be aware that sometimes we have to be silent. Sometimes we have to allow ourselves to take some time so that we don't react, that we can act, that we can do something, and not just as if I'm putting our hand in on top of a very hot stove and automatically the hand goes up. It's reaction. There's no thought in that. In our world, the way, if we want to evolve, if we want to progress, we have to learn not to react only. We have to learn how to act. So if something is coming to me, whatever it is, good or bad, I have, personally, me and hopefully all of you, we have to stop, think, process. What am I feeling? How am I gonna act back? Not react, act back. How am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? Everybody that goes into a Starbucks or into a coffee shop wants to be treated well by the person who are giving us what um, I'm buying, right? How am I treating that person? But on the other hand, if I am the one serving, how am I treating the customer? I know that there will be customers who are bad customers or are in a bad mood or are whatever, are rude. And there are people who are kind. How am I going to treat them? How do I let them affect how I am going to treat them? And this message by Emmanuel, which I'm going to share the second slide here, it's called, I didn't put the name of the message, but it's called Silence and Kindness. And I don't know if it has been translated or not, so I did my own adaptation here. So I don't know if you guys are seeing or not. I'm not seeing here on my screen. So, but and I divided this message, so small, but I divided this message in 4 parts because it's very small. So just few sentences. So it's silence and kindness. So I start with this part, which is the beginning of the message, happy. And then he says more or less this: happy us who already understood the value of silence. And this silence that I'm talking about is not the silence necessarily um, of being silent, but it's the moment between things, right? Where I'm not apparently doing nothing. But even to be in silent, to be in silence, I have to act. I have to take control of that part. Because If we didn't have silence, we almost wouldn't be able to realize that something ended and the other one, started. There needs to be a void, a space between the end of something and the beginning of the next one, so that we know exactly where it is. There's of course, it's always a continuum, right? Like day and night, where day starts, but there is that moment where we really go from one to the other. So there's not a void necessarily, but there's a space there where we tend to look at it and say, okay, now we're about to start the second part. So it's that space that I need to create before acting, before doing something. I would say that the reaction is more like an instant change. It's something that happens like automatically, and then, but if we realize that with nature there's always like the transition from one stage to the other, and it's very uh, it's smooth, but there's it's not sudden, but there's a silence in between. There's a moment of change. And in me, when something is happening to me, I have to have learned to become silent, to say, okay, let me take that in, see where it goes, process that in my mind through my feeling, and then act upon it. And Emmanuel says, happy of us who already understood the value of silence. Why? So let's go to the next one. It says, if we already acquired that, and that's how he starts, however, right? Not all of us already got that idea of the importance of silence. But let's say that we got. And he says, however, if we already acquired that. So what I find interesting about Emmanuel is that sometimes he takes for granted that we already did, right? And have we or not? Did we learn to be silent? That's another question, but let's go ahead. However, if we already acquired that, let's not condemn the acquaintances, our friends, people around me that still did not lose the habit of talking too much. So what is he saying? Hey, oh, I already understood that silence is important. But there are people who didn't understand it yet. And how do we behave? What do we do when we encounter those people? And what I tend to think about this is that if if really we learned the importance of silence, we wouldn't be worried about people talking too much. We would be condemning people that talk too much, because we would have already learned that some people are at their own pace. See, so Emmanuel is very subtle in allowing us to think that maybe you already got it. But here he says, oh, you still didn't get it if you're condemning. So it brings to my mind that idea of a teacher that's a really good teacher, that's showing us our possibilities, our capabilities, and it is allowing us to grow with our own in our own pace, the way we can learn, the way we can walk, not trying to push us and making us fall. No, he doesn't want us to fall. He's giving us advice and making us think about, did you already get the idea of how important it is to be silent, to know how to use silence? Because if you're silent only on the outside, but you're still condemning other people, it means that you're on the inside, you're still not that silent. And that brings me back to the message. And I ended up not saying anything about the message in the Gospel according to Spiritism. That brings me back to that message once again, chapter 9, item number 6, when it says, talks about affability and mildness. When the spirit of Lazarus, that Kardec puts the message there, he talks about um, us having that veneer around ourselves of being kind on the outside, but inside we're like wolves in in a sheep clothes, right, in sheep environment. So we tend to say, oh, people respect me, people do what I want to do, people do. But then he says, but how much do you know if people love you or if they hate you? But they do it because they have to do it. So we are kind on the outside, but we are such hypocrites on the inside. And Emmanuel is kind of saying the same thing here, but in a different way, right? So if we still don't, if we think that we know what being silent is, but we're talking too much or condemning people who talk too much, have we really learned how to be kind? Right? Because kindness, it's not just what we do on the outside. That's the first step, right? I have to do it on the outside, right? And we'll get to that in shortly here. I have to do it on the outside because the world is a better place when we are being kind to each other. But the problem is, if we are only being kind on the outside, it will be a moment. And if I don't worry about being kind on the inside, there will be a moment where it can be that I'm going to hit all the doors and I'm going to close all the doors, and everything will be. Why? Because I'm just doing outside, just for to show and tell, right? Just for Instagram, just for Facebook. And I'm not doing like on a day-to-day basis. As Vanessa already asked, am I being kind to people in my house, inside the house, where I am more me than what I am on when I'm on the outside? So, how much of this silence, how much of this taking the time to really think about before doing something am I taking? Am I condemning people who are not kind? So, I'm not being kind to them. So, I'm condemning someone because of something that I still didn't acquire. So how does that make sense? Do not judge so you're not judged, right? So it is something that it needs to come from the inside. And now I stop and say, if it needs to come from the inside and I don't have it yet, should I then stop being on the outside? No. No, 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 no. I have to do it on the outside. That's the first step. Otherwise, I won't be able to change on the inside. But I have to work on both ends at the same time. Maybe one is easier than the other, but I have to work on both sides. I have to sometimes realize, oh, I was not kind to that person. And then next time I may apologize or I may be kind to that person or kinder to that person next time. And then on the inside, I said, but I didn't want to be kind. And I say to myself, okay, that's fine. But next time, why not be kinder on the inside as well? And then I go from step to step, step by step. Because otherwise, I won't be able to do it. Some people say, oh, be who you are. And say, who am I? You don't even know who you are. So project who you want to be, where you want to be. Let's project where we want to be. I want to be a more loving person. So let's work on being a more loving person. I want to be kinder. So let's work to be kinder. Right? And if it starts from the outside and then it starts changing the inside, that's the path, that's the way to go. But if I wait 50 years to start treating people kindly because I am not kind on the inside, I won't. What have I accomplished in 50 years? Nothing. So I have to do it. I have to do it the best that we can, that I can. And I'll make mistakes and then I correct my mistakes. That's how everything, like I was saying before, happens or works. If I am, like I said, if I'm going to learn a language, I'm going to make mistakes. I'm certainly, for people who are American, who are like were born listening to English, and they know that I am not American because of the way I speak, because of my accent, but you're kind enough to have me here talking about a topic because maybe I have something to add to what you already know. Maybe not. That's why I asked for kindness in the beginning, for your kindness in the beginning to I was going to say, because we always have to learn to be kind to the others. It's something that's necessary for the world to become hopefully soon, but one day a better place. But let's go back to Emmanuel so that we can start walking towards the finish line here. Hopefully I can get there. Um, he says after, let me go back to the other one. So, however, if we already acquired that, right, and let's say that we did, let's not condemn the people, the acquaintances that still did not lose the habit of talking too much, that they didn't learn yet the power of the necessity, the need of being silent. And then he goes, listen to them with kindness and goodness. So instead of condemning the other ones, let's stop and let's take what they're giving and let's listen to them, but not in any way. Let's listen to them with kindness and goodness. Is this kindness on the exterior? It needs to be, because I need to be quiet. I need to be silent to listen to. So it's a discipline thing, as the message was read in the beginning. So I have to be disciplined to do that, to be kind on the outside. But the listening process is not something on the outside. The listening process is something on the inside. I have to pay attention to almost physically do something. I have to focus my attention to the person who is talking to me and be kind with what I'm listening and be good with good, have goodness or be good to what I'm listening, not judging, not condemning. I have to take that in with kindness and goodness. And he will explain it why. That's why I love this message. He says, it is possible that through the other person, through those words, through the message, through what they're saying, we can get, without even asking, great information that refer to our own peace. With what they're saying, with what the world is giving to me, with what that person or that people or those acquaintances or nature or something that happened in my life, maybe that thing is trying to tell me something that's important to my own peace. So being kind to anything around me and everything and everyone around me. It's not about the others. It is about learning who I am. It's about observing that why does that affect me? And with that, I will be able to become even kinder. I will be able to learn even more. So it's that, not a vicious circle, but a virtuous circle, right? I am kind, and that kindness that I give, that thing that I give, that I people don't even sometimes notice that I'm giving, brings back to me. You know, there's a message in the gospel according to Spiritism that I won't remember where it is right now. But one day I was talking to one of my brothers, and he was mentioning to me um, that there's a type of charity that we usually tend to overlook, which is the charity that we do for others, that others don't even know that they're being helped, but they are being helped. So let's imagine this situation. We are walking on the street, and we walked on the street, and we got to where we wanted to go. There's nothing special about it, right? But have we thought that maybe there was something that was falling, and someone saw that thing falling, and for whatever reason was able to grab it before it hit me on the ground? Or something that was on a sidewalk, a hole that like a minute before, and the person saw that I was coming through that sidewalk, and then there was a hole around the corner, and the person knew that there was a person coming, and the person went there and covered the hole, and I just passed by it and never saw it. That's the type of charity that we do, that other people will not even have the chance to receive gratitude. But why do we do it? Why should we do it? The other day I was coming to work, going to work, and I saw this couple. Right, there was a construction site on the sidewalk, and I was stopped at the traffic light, and then I saw this couple like working, grabbing something from the ground, and then when I looked again, there was a sign there, and the sign said construction site or something like that, and the sign had been on the ground. I had not seen it, but now I saw it, and the couple, helped each other to grab the thing, to put it on top, and to organize it, and start walking back to wherever they were going to. And there was another gentleman that was walking by the sidewalk, and he looked at them and thanked them for doing that. The couple was being kind to everyone, to society, putting that thing up. And that other person saw that gesture of kindness, and kindly thanked them for doing what they did. It's that thing that rolls, the virtuous circle of doing something that it doesn't matter if someone will see, if someone will notice, if someone will know. It doesn't need to be thanked. It is good. It is important if we see that we thank other people, but if we do it because we notice, and we notice how important it is to be done, let's do it. Being kind, having kindness in our daily actions is that type of thing. Is that type of thing that people don't need to notice, don't need to thank you for being it. But once you start being it, people will already will start seeing it. And maybe, hopefully, this action helps other people being kind again. And that circle will become a virtuous circle. And hopefully, no one will break. But if someone breaks, let us be the one that starts the circle again. Because it is important to keep that circle going, to keep um, that possibility of being kind open to everyone. So I have 2 or 3 sentences here that I want to show you in a small video that I found online. And I don't know, hopefully you have not seen it, but these days we see so many things on the internet. Maybe you've seen it, but I think it's interesting for us to see it again if you've seen it. But first, I'd like to show this sentence from the Dalai Lama. Be kind whenever possible. It is always possible. It is us saying to ourselves, I can do it. It is always possible. It doesn't matter what's happening outside. It doesn't matter what people are saying, how. No, it doesn't matter. I need to do what's right to do, and it is always possible. And so this is from a person which is not Christian, but we see that, and we know that it doesn't need to be Christianity. It doesn't need to be spiritist. We can see this in nature, as we said in the beginning. There's this other sentence that this other idea that I find it to be very, very interesting is knowledge. Everyone we meet is fighting a battle we know nothing about. Be kind, always. He's a writer, Brad Meltzer. I've seen this written in different ways, in different places, without quoting, without saying who said that or not. But that's how it is. We don't know what's happening to the other person. Why is the other person treating me badly? I don't know. I don't know what's going on in their lives. So why should I be the one to worry the other person more, or to put more weight on the other person? I shouldn't. So um, let's be kind always, just like the Dalai Lama said. Jesus says this in a different way. And so I didn't put Jesus's quote here, but he says, the meek will inherit the earth, right? Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. And that's how it works. Because it cycles back. And that's why we will inherit the earth, because the rude ones will be transformed by our actions, by our kind actions. they will also become kinder. And when we all become kinder, there will be a more peaceful, world, a more peaceful surrounding around me. It takes time. It takes time, but nature takes time. But let's not wait on our side. Let's do our part, because that's what we need to do. We have to do our part. And our part in this case is to be kind always, because we don't know what the other one is going through. And this is the video that I want to show. I hopefully it passes by there. I don't know if it will. If it not, then I don't know, share a screen here and see how it goes, if it goes well or not. Let me see if I have it open here. Where I have it open. This video, I don't know if this works. Oh, this doesn't work. On the presentation. Um, Vanessa, can you um, if I paste there this link, can you play a link there from YouTube? It's a video on YouTube, so it's 3 minutes. It's very short.
That should work.
Okay, so here's the link is in a private chat there, and I'm not gonna talk, but if you can watch and we watch together, and I can just finalize by saying something.
Just give me a second to share the screen.
All right. This is an advertisement from I think a Thailand from Thailand. It's a 3-minute ad from a company, and
There you go. Mac, can you hear that when we play?
I can.
All right, here we go.
ไหนดูสิเอาอะไรไปออกมาดิไปทำอะไรเนี่ยฮะถามว่าเอาไปทำอะไรเอาไปให้แม่
เจ๊แป๊บนึงแม่ป่วยเหรอ
อย่าทำอย่างนี้อีกนะ
หน่วยเกาเหลา จ๋านั่งเลยครับนั่งเลยป๊าจัดไปสั่งมาเร็วต่ออะไร
Yeah, so this is the ad, and this ad is based on a true story, or kind of a true story. It's based, but it's not that. But it's an American, was an American doctor, or an American kid that had a problem in his family. Well, he actually didn't have a problem in his family. He was kind of well off. But one day he was helped by someone. And 20 years later, 30 years later, he, that one of these people that helped him when he was doing something, came to him for surgery, and he wrote that note, or a similar note to that now, don't worry about paying for your surgery. You paid for the surgery 20 years ago, 30 years ago, whatever it was, with a glass of milk. I was trying to find the name of the doctor here so that you might want to, but it was with a glass of milk. That was his, and that's in his biography and so on. We never know. We really never know how far our acts of kindness will reach. We never know. So it might come back to us. And at this time, it won't come back to us to haunt us, but it will come back to us to help us. So let's be kind. Let's be kind. We will inherit the earth. You know, this ad was shown. I think it appeared for the first time in 2013 or something, but it was shown even in TV stations. You know, when that's how powerful the story of kindness is. It comes back to us. Everything that we do come back to us. So why don't we do more good things, right? Even if it's for selfish reasons, we should be doing more good things because they will come back to us. And like I said, not to haunt us, but to help us and to help everyone around us. So let's be kind. Let's be kind, as the Dalai Lama says. Be kind. It is always possible. Thank you for your kindness. And thank you for inviting me, Vanessa.
Thank you, Mac. Thank you, Mac. And you know, it's interesting because inside the youth is watching the movie Girl Who Can Make Miracles. Yeah, so you can watch it on Prime Video. It's a wonderful movie. A girl who believes in miracles, and she actually is a healing agent. She's a little girl. She heals a bird, and then a dog, and then a friend who can't walk, and then a girl who has cancer, and it goes on and on and on. So today, and she's very kind, like Mackenzie saying, very kind. She really embraces the Christ consciousness, and she, at all times, she's attentive in relationships about her share. She's not reactive, as Mackenzie said, because to be kind, if we're reactive, we can't be kind, right? So it's all about seeing the other. So we're inspired here and there. The kids are still watching. We still have movie going on, but we're now gonna prepare us for the passes. But before we go there, questions you may want to ask to Mackenzie. Yes, John.
No, thank emphasize how important time. And it's also important to understand how the smallest thing we do is just as important as the big thing. That little video really pointed to that because it was really simple for the guy that restaurant.
Anybody else would like to ask a question to Mackenzie? Yes.
I just wanted to say, Mac, when you were referencing the book Jesus in the Home, how Jesus does use silence as kindness, right? And it describes so well in the book that it says that Jesus pauses and he listens and he never interrupts. He just lets the apostles talk and talk and talk because he was saying that how his silence, right, Mac,
Yeah.
got shortened, but Jesus is our model and he does use this home settings, friendly settings to demonstrate kindness in silence. It's incredible. So just it took me back to the images that the book brings to us of Jesus' kindness. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Paloma. Since Paloma is mentioning that, Mac, I want to ask you a question. If you can tell people, sorry. And the camera in and out. Okay, hold on. All right. So, because we're spiritists, we know that we are, connected to two worlds. We're spirits, but connected to the physical world, and would like you to help us understand also in a bigger picture the natural consequences of our kindness in this connection into realms.
Yeah, so let me start. Let me start by couldn't hear fully hear what John was saying, but he said something about the small things,
Yeah.
and I just want to acknowledge that it is the small things. It is the smaller things. Okay, so it is the small things. It is always the small things because uh, to someone who already grew big, who already is big as Jesus, everything that he does, if it looks big to us, it is not big for them. So it doesn't matter, right? That small thing for that person, that man who gave that, that little money that he could afford, and for that veggie soup, right? For him, it was probably not that much, but for that boy, it was the world, right? So the small things are not as small for everybody. So if we can do it, however small it is, we have to do it because we never know how big that is to another person. And what Paloma was saying, to Jesus being silent and smiling and having that complexion, and when he was talking to the apostles, to him it was probably kind of even funny to see them talking, to hear them talking and voicing their opinions, because he had already gone through all that, but he was there nonetheless, like a teacher is for the kids, right? A teacher that is teaching whatever it is to the kids, he doesn't need to learn that anymore. He is just teaching. That's very small, but he is there doing, right? And he is there with, hopefully, with his full heart doing whatever it is. And that's what Jesus was doing. He was keeping silent. He was pausing. He was expecting. He was waiting for people to come. And then when everybody said whatever they needed to say, he would say it, right? He would talk. He would give his 2 cents, right? Or half a cent, right? Because to Jesus it's a small thing, but it is very important because he doesn't look at the size of what it is now, right? He doesn't look at the seed. He already sees the tree that's giving seeds in the future, and that's why he's doing for the seeds now. He's planting now because he knows what's the future. And that's how I jump to what Vanessa was asking, right? How is that interaction, how does that affect the future? In that sense, we are receiving the kindness of God for being on earth right now. That's the kindness of God, is for us to be here once again, having the chance to work, having the chance to do our part, being co-creators of the world. That's God's kindness to us, right? That's God's kindness to us to allow for Jesus to come and to all these missionaries to come to allow us to learn more, to be able to see it from people who not only talk about it but who live the message like Jesus did, like so many other people who are trying to live and do their best to do it, to be guides, to be smaller models, but to be models as well. And once we know and once we learn that, we learn how to be kind to them because we know that they are not perfect. So let's say Chico Xavier, the Dalai Lama, Gandhi, or whoever from other religions, it doesn't matter, right? We know that they are here to do their work, and they are doing their work, and we are being helped by that work of kindness that they took their time to come here and do something. In the book Renunciation, right, which is a wonderful book. I bawled like they say it here, right? I cried, I what? How do they say it? I bawled my eyes out, cried my eyeballs out, something like that, right? That book. I'm sorry, I apologize. I'm thinking in Portuguese and in English at the same time, so things are clashing inside my mind. Um, I cried parts of that book that I couldn't believe it. Alcyone, right, which is the spirit, the major spirit of that story. Like she comes from a place, from the spiritual realm, from a world that's much more evolved than what we are. And then a spirit comes to her in the beginning of the book, and the spirit comes to her and says, "You know what you're doing, right? You're going to the earth. You're going to live in the matter again, and you know how tough it is to be there. Do you remember how tough it is to be incarnated, and how the pressure of matter over you can make you lose your opportunity, can make you do stuff that you don't want to do it?" And she says, "I know that, but I want to go there because I love, and I need to do that because of this person." And then she reincarnates and she does what she can do, and she doesn't fail. She does it. But she was warned, when we are incarnated, it is tough. But she came for love. She came out of kindness, out of goodness of her heart. And she was allowed to come by these great powers, by Jesus and by these great powers. Why? Because they are kind to humanity. They are kind to us. They know that we are the possibility of being, and they want to help us. So we are these seeds. We have the possibility. We just need to do our, as small as it can be. We need to do our part because we never know, how important our actions are to that specific person. There's this very telling story of this boy who was, and you probably heard this as well, that was at the beach, and he was there, and he was um, grabbing starfish out of the sand. The water would come, and then he would see and grab a starfish and then throw it out in the water, and then grabbed another one, threw it out in the water. And then there was coming this man walking by, and he saw that, right? And he walked by, and he couldn't help himself. He came back and he talked to the boy. "What are you doing?" And the boy said, "Oh, I'm saving the starfish. If they stay here too long, they will dry out and they will die." And the man looked at the boy and he says, "Oh, that's interesting. Have you looked around? Have you seen the extension of this beach? Have you seen how many starfish there are here?" And he says, "Yeah, I've seen it." So, you know that you're helping, like, what are you doing? And he says, "Well, I don't know about the other ones because I really can't do it much for the other ones." And then he lowers down, grabs another one, looks at him, shows it. "But to this one, I know I'm making a difference."
Oh,
And the man lowers down and grab one.
yeah. Yes. You're speechless too. Reminds me, Mac, of Chico Xavier. Just go back here. It reminds me of Chico Xavier when everything he did, one by one, like Jesus did, right? He helped one by one, person by person. Then one day, this woman came and she was desperate because her daughter got in trouble. She was surrounded by uh, friends who were drug addicts, and she said, "Chico, I need your help." And this is a pause for us because sometimes we have family members who are in need, and instead of asking for help, we stay angry. Like the beginning of the message by Mackenzie Mello. Instead of saying, if it's happening to my kid, imagine the other kids and the mothers who don't know what I know. At least I know that life goes on. I know the power of prayer. I know the power of kindness. And I want to help the other kids. But majority of us, we're so selfish that we only think of ourselves. We are angry with life. We become angry with God. But she didn't. She asked for help. And then Emmanuel, the spirit mentor, said, because remember, majority of the inhabitants of the earth are discarnated. A third of those, says Andrea Lewis in the book Evolution in Two Worlds, are spirits who are trying to help us. And it's in God's interest that we progress. It's not only ours, because some people think, nobody's here for me. If you have God, what else do you need? Because God created us for wonderful things. And it's in God's interest, in the interest of the good spirits who are following God's laws. So then what Mac is saying reminded me of this story because Emmanuel said through Chico Xavier, go and do some charitable work. She went back all the way to São Paulo City. She was puzzled. Her husband and her were like, oh man, can't believe, what do we do? Talk to friends. And back then, I don't know nowadays, but back then, people could go volunteer in prison very easily and bring cakes and give them haircuts. So husband and wife were invited by friends to join them in this effort, going to prisons. Every weekend they were there. They couldn't understand the math, like our daughter helping others. Our daughter helping others. How is this going to help that? Well, they were very kind. They became friends with the men who were there, bringing cakes, giving them haircuts, listening to their stories. The mothers and the other loved ones of these prisoners who were in the spiritual realm became like friends of theirs without them knowing. Said, these people are so nice because the good spirits see what we feel when we do charitable work. So doing the thing just like doesn't work. To really earn the whole deal, we need to feel the kindness, and they were truly kind. They forgot about their problems when they were there, and they were helping. But not like in an arrogant way, because often we help. How do we help? I'm so good. I'm great. These people don't know anything, but I'm here to help. We're very arrogant. And the good spirits are like, yeah, she needs more time doing this till she understands she's not different from anyone here. She's not better because she has more than those who don't, or even those who volunteer and don't excel like he or she does. They really put their hearts. And those spirits who were loved ones of those men who were in prison said, let's help them out. They were helping this obsessed girl and a group of friends. And she healed this obsession. We studied on Friday about it in the book Laws of Love. They went back to Chico Xavier and said, I don't know what happened, but it worked. And then Emilio was able to explain that by doing that out of their heart, thinking of others, forgetting about their problems, being truly kind, giving back to life, they earned the esteem of spirits who are in the spiritual realm. We're not alone. When we're kind, we plug into the Wi-Fi of the good, and wonderful things can happen. So what Mac is saying, he has a lot of books that he helped with Franziska Kranz. She's German, and he in the US, she was then in England. They did these beautiful programs at Kardec Radio. Some of them are Andrea Louis books where we can further learn about how we can live better by making wiser emotional choices here and making better connections in the spiritual realm. So Mac is inviting us, right? He's saying time and again, no matter how small, it's worthwhile, right, Mac?
It is always worthwhile. You really never know. This week, for example, I was in last week actually. I was at the Spiritist Center, right? And then a friend, a couple, came to the center. It's coming like started coming like 2 months ago. Didn't know them, and we were talking, and then he says, "Mackenzie, did you um, did you do some work at Kardec Radio?" And said, "Oh yeah, a long time ago, with Francisca." And I said what Vanessa just said. And he said, "I was listening there, and then I heard this voice." And I said, I called my husband, and "Do you recognize this voice?" And he stops and said, "Oh yeah, that's Mackenzie's voice." And then he comes to ask me and said, "Oh yeah, I had forgotten about that. Yeah, I did that," and so on. So he started laughing. So, like I said, I mean, to me and to Francisca at the time, it was like we were having fun, right? We were doing because, Vanessa invited us, we had the time, and he said, "Let's do it, let's commit to do this." So we did it. And like, I don't know how many years later, 7 years, 8 years, I don't even remember. I mean, my hair, I'm glad that you couldn't see it then because it was just rated, right? So it was darker. But then he comes and said, "Oh yeah, see, 6, 7 years later, someone is listening and still listening." So I can imagine how much, what you guys did, what you guys do on Kardec Radio, still do it, and how much is it's affecting the world. We really don't know. So, John, thank you for reminding me of that small thing, because it's small, but it's not small. It's really big to all of us. So thank you for your comment.
Say it out loud.
Mackenzie, I couldn't help but laugh when I saw. I didn't know. I knew you were in Massachusetts, but I didn't know you were in Salem, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
That's got to be a story behind how you started that spirit center.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. Salem is a magical city. It's kind of interesting. I mean, I I'm not I don't study. I'm not studious of the story of Salem, but I've read and I've watched a few things. I've read a few books. I toured around, so I know some stuff. And it's a very interesting town. I don't know why I came here. I really don't know. It's one of those things that maybe I'll know when I get back. But
Couldn't help thinking it was directly related to what happened back. When you first
yeah,
got
1692. It's a powerful story. It's a very, very powerful story. Lately, I mean, recently, a few years ago, the last one who was the last of the women who were condemned back then by some unfortunately crazy actions of some people who were back then, was pardoned officially. So the family, so none of them have any more repercussions, although they didn't have it for a while. But what I'm saying is, the state and history recognizes that was just a completely out of, I don't know. They can't even explain why such wise men of the time were so involved in that whole story, and created that whole hysteria around women. Basically, only one man died. It's unfortunate how we do it as society, how we go after women for nothing. It's just insane. So I think we are getting better. We're kind of far away still from where we think we should be, but just, and Jesus, like as always, way ahead of time. Go and talk to the lady, like Vanessa was saying, right, at the well, right, talking to women and talking to people as spirits, but we still like see the out shell. We see the out shell, and because it has a long hair, or because it has this, or we treat it differently, and it's such a shame. But we are getting better, and that's how we. So the story of Salem is a wonderful story from either perspective. I mean, from the historical perspective, and if someone would write from the spiritual perspective, it would be even, I'd say, even greater, because it's a wonderful, terrible happening, but a wonderful learning experience, a wonderful learning process.
All right. We have a lot to learn, as you're saying, Matt. So as you said, the Gospel According to Spiritism today is the center stage, talking about books before we let Matt go. At the end, Felipe is going to pass it around. We have a summer Spiritist book challenge for everybody, adults and children. And it's a good opportunity to discover, because the more we get to know, the freer we'll be, because truth sets us free. So at the end, you receive this. Felipe will be passing it around after the passes, right? And we want to thank again and again, Mackenzie. Some people are in the other rooms, not only the kids, the teens, but the moms, but hopefully everybody was able to listen to you and absorb the invitation. We want to thank you and give you a big hug of gratitude for your time. Thank you so much. And a big hug to Shirley's and the whole community there. Thank you, Mackenzie. We hope to see you in person, right?
Yeah.
In person.
Yeah, I hope I can. Yeah, I hope I can one day. I mean, I've been there once. I'd like to go. Hi, Carlos. I don't know the name of everybody, so I'm sorry. So know some faces, but I'll be there.
Next
Hopefully
time,
we
we'll
can
find a
organize.
way, right?
Yep.
Thank you, Mackenzie. A big hug to you. We hope to be in touch and see you soon again.
All right.
Thank
God
you.
bless. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, friends. So let us prepare for the passes now. As we prepare here for the passes, we're going to put some messages here. Okay. I did something wrong. Okay. So let us prepare. Let us close our eyes and visualize Master Jesus with us. He is, without a doubt, the example of kindness, of love on earth, unconditional love. We visualize His healing presence in front of us. Let us help by visualizing his heart of love emanating light, emanating healing. For those who don't know, you sit down here, nobody's gonna touch. You can watch and see if you want it later. Yeah. Let us help one another by visualizing the presence of Master Jesus with us, his loving kindness, his healing hands, applying onto us the energy medicine that we need. Let us help one another at this moment by visualizing a waterfalls of healing light falling upon us and ridding ourselves of all those molecules that are not healthy, substituted by healthy ones in the mind and the bodies. Let us breathe in and out, feeling the loving care of on high.
Doggy, doggy, doggy. Doggy, doggy,
Let us then help one another, feeling the presence of the spirit doctors, nurses, therapists. They continue to treat each one of us. Let us visualize them offering flowers of healing. Let us bring the bouquet of flowers close to our hearts, breathing the perfume of the flowers and allowing ourselves to be bathed in the colors, the healing color vibration of the flowers. Let us all now, as Sarah told us from the movie, think of God. It's our turn. Think of Jesus and all the healing that comes through the hands of God. Let us visualize and help one another. Visualizing Master Jesus with us, rescuing everyone who's in need of help, soothing energies. Let us visualize the power of God's love enveloping all of us. Let us also raise our thoughts in gratitude to God for life, for the gift of existing and being our co-creators, Lord. May we enjoy being co-creators with you in the good, for we are tired of being co-creators in other ways. We love you, and we hope that you keep on blessing us so we can multiply the good that you grant us with. May our return to our homes be safe, and may we stay calm in your loving arms today and always. And so be it.
Friends, before we all go and we wait for others to receive the water, we just have a few reminders and announcements. As always, we have the fraternal counseling available. If you need to speak with someone, we can schedule a time. You can come and talk with us. This month, we are starting a new drive. It's cleaning supplies. We're still helping the shelter in Reston. So throughout the month, we'll be collecting supplies that are in immediate need. Also, as always, once a month, we'll be in Washington, D.C. for a monthly workshop. This month, we're going to be talking about entertainment from a spiritist view. And then next Sunday, we'll be back here for our inspirational talk and for our fundraising lunch and ice cream social. So you're welcome to come, and we look forward to seeing you. You also just received a paper about our Summer Spiritist Book Challenge. We invite everyone, children and adults, to partake in the challenge. There are instructions you can see. You can read a book. The children are invited to use Luis Riva's books, make a drawing. So everyone is invited to partake and participate. And lastly, in August, save the date, on August 26th, we'll be having our summer picnic, celebrating also the anniversary of the center. The center just turned 16 years. So you, your family, friends, everyone is welcome to come. There will be beverage, hot dogs, and burgers, and then you're welcome to bring a side dish to share with everybody. So, thank you. And we hope you have a beautiful Sunday.
Thank you. We keep it for next time. Oh, next time we have this message. I forgot. Yeah.
Ele vai começar a rodar
Ela tá aqui.
Tchau, gente.